How you doing? This is Chevy Miller, and I chose to discuss topic 2 in regards to a coach's position on self-confidence and self-esteem being vital for a person to succeed. And we're supposed to use a real-life example. And the example that I want to use is me, myself, because one, I am not only a basketball lover, but if I be honest, I'm a sports geek, and I just love sports in general. There's no sport that I wouldn't be able to sit down and watch, and I just like good games, good competition. But for me, in being a basketball trainer, there's one thing that I use that I try to separate myself from everybody else. And there's a saying that I use throughout my training lessons, and it's called strong mind, strong body. And I believe that the stronger that your mind is, the more that you will be able to push yourself in order to be able to get to that next level. I've had a lot of my clients that I train, which is from the ages of 2 years old on up to professionals, tell me that the biggest difference that they see is not only in their skills, but in their confidence. I have parents come up to me all the time and say that my kid just has more confidence. My kid just believes in themselves now. And so for me, the tactics that I use is I try to attack the mind and try to get them to change their mind, because I do feel like if I can change a person's mind, then I can help them change their life completely. Now, I've done some research, and there was an article that I looked at, and the title of that particular article was called Self-Esteem and Children's Reactions to Youth Sport Coaching Behaviors. It was a field study done by Ronald E. Smith and Frank L. Smoyle in regards to the self-enhancement process. And so they looked at a couple of different things, such as reinforcement. They looked at mistake contingent. They looked at punishment. They looked at ignoring mistakes. They looked at keeping control. They looked at general encouragement, and they also looked at general technical instruction. And so out of all of these things that they looked at, they come to find out that on the highest of all of these was one, general encouragement, and also general technique instructions. And so what that tells me is that there's also this saying that a lot of people say, if you're an athlete, you know this saying, but it says that 90% of a sport is mental and only 10% is physical. And then there's also another saying that we learn as trainers is that it takes 10,000 hours of good repetition to do anything to perfect it. And so what that tells me that general technical instruction, with it being the highest of all of those, is that because they've done a particular thing over and over again, it's allowed them to have more confidence in what it is that they're doing. So I feel like that with confidence, there is a technical aspect associated with that allows you to be able to have more confidence. If you ask the Kobe Bryants of the world, if you ask the LeBron Jameses or any of the elite athletes, I'd be willing to bet you that the repetition that they put in is a whole lot higher than your guy that's sitting on the bench or in a lower level league. And I also looked at another thing, which is from the National Strength and Conditioning Association book. And there's two types of motivation factors. There is the motivation to succeed, which means that they like the odds of succeeding and failing at 50%. And then there's a motivation to fail. And at this point, the task is either very easy or very hard. But there's another type of motivation that I looked at that I feel like is more important than any of these and leads to self-confidence, and it's called the intrinsic motivation. And it's a desire to be competent or self-determining. The athlete is a self-starter because of his or her love for the game. And so I feel like the intrinsic motivation is the most important part of self-confidence and self-esteem when it comes to an athlete and how far they're really going to make it. Because if you love something, when you go through trials and tribulations, it'll cause you to want to continue to push yourself versus just wanting to give up. So I thank you for your time and thank you for listening to my post.